Witches feared, revered, hunted, and hidden. But before broomsticks and bubbling cauldrons, there were real witches, powerful women who defied kings, summoned spirits, and ruled their own fate. Forget fairy tale witches. These legendary women from ancient mythology didn't ride brooms. They ruled empires, cast curses, and terrified entire civilizations. Some were goddesses, others were mortal, but all of them were dangerous. This Halloween, we're counting down 5 of the most terrifying, mystical, and misunderstood witches from mythology around the world, and the chilling truths that made them legends. In the sun-drenched seas of ancient Greece, far from the reach of kings and conquerors, a solitary island shimmered like a mirage on the horizon. This was Yaga, home to wolves and lions that lounged like house cats, and to a woman both feared and revered, Circe. Who was she? Circe was no ordinary mortal. She was born of the sun god Helios and the ocean nymph Perse, her bloodline divine. In the old Greek tongue, she was called a pharmacus, a master of herbs, spells, and transformation. While mortals whispered of witches and fear, Circe was the origin of those whispers. Her island domain, Yaga, was more than a home. It was a realm of enchantment. The breeze smelled of strange flowers, and haunting music floated through the trees. But beware, the animals that roamed freely were not as they seemed. They were men, transformed by Circe's spells into beasts, her most infamous encounter. When Odysseus and his crew landed on her shores, Circe welcomed them with a feast, laced with enchantments. One by one, the men transformed into pigs, but Odysseus, aided by the god Hermes, resisted her spell. He confronted Circe with blade in hand, and instead of bloodshed, something stranger happened. She fell in love. The legacy of Circe. She would bear Odysseus a son. She guided him on his journey. But Circe's image remains tangled. Was she a monster, a healer, a victim of patriarchy? In a time when women were silenced, she ruled her own land and bent the world to her will. Circe wasn't wicked. She was just a woman with power in a world that feared it. Was Circe cruel or simply free? Deep within the tangled forests of Eastern Europe, where the trees whisper secrets and the winds never rest, lives a witch unlike any other. Who was she? Baba Yaga is one of the most feared and misunderstood figures in Slavic folklore. Neither fully human nor fully monster, she's described as an ancient crone with bony legs, iron teeth, and eyes that burn like hot coals. She's not your fairy tale witch. She is folklore's wildest force of nature. How she travels. She doesn't ride a broom. Baba Yaga flies in a giant mortar, steering with a pestle and sweeping her tracks away with a birch broom. The skies tremble when she soars through them, chasing spirits or escaping them. Her house, she lives in a hut that stands on giant clawed chicken legs. It doesn't stay in one place. The house spins, groans, and sometimes dances. Its fence made of human bones. Skulls perch on the posts, glowing with eerie light at night. Her rules. Baba Yaga isn't evil, but she is dangerous. She's a test, a judge, If you approach her with arrogance or fear, she might eat you alive. But if you are respectful, clever, and brave, she could become your greatest ally. She's helped young maidens escape cruel stepmothers and gifted heroes with magical items, but only after they prove themselves worthy. Symbolism and meaning. Baba Yaga is the raw, untamed spirit of the wilderness. She represents chaos, change, death, and rebirth. Some scholars believe she is a remnant of an ancient earth goddess, a forgotten deity transformed into a crone through the ages. She devours the wicked, tests the pure, and rules the woods like a shadow queen. Baba Yaga isn't evil, she's wild magic in its rawest form. Baba Yaga is chaos and wisdom in equal parts, and she never forgets a trespass. Love can be magic, but in Greek myth, love twisted by betrayal becomes the darkest curse of all. Before modern tales of wicked witches, there was a woman whose story was so dark, so devastating, it shook the ancient world. Born of royal and divine blood, Medea's power was unmatched. She could summon illusions, command poisons, speak with spirits, and even raise the dead. Medea was no ordinary witch. She was a princess of Colchis and a high priestess of Hecate, goddess of magic, ghost, and the crossroads. Her father was King Hades, her aunt the sorceress Circe, her grandfather Helios, the sun god. She was born into magic. Her bloodline was divine. Her power was terrifying. And her story, one of love, betrayal, and vengeance so savage, it still echoes through time. Medea's tragedy began when Jason of the Argonauts, the famed Greek hero, arrived in Colchis to steal the legendary Golden Fleece. Struck by love, or perhaps cursed by the gods, she didn't just fall, she plunged. She fell in love, not softly, madly, fatally. Medea betrayed her own blood. She defied her father, King Hades, and murdered her own brother, cutting him into pieces and casting them into the sea to delay pursuit. She used her magic to drug the serpent guarding the fleece, crafted potions, summoned illusions, and bent fate itself for Jason. And when they fled, she gave him everything: her family, her home, her throne, her soul, all for a man who would later abandon her. Years passed. Medea bore Jason children, and they built a life in Corinth. She thought she'd found her future, a family, a kingdom. But Jason, always chasing power, betrayed her. He left her to marry a younger, royal bride, the daughter of the king of Corinth. Medea gave up her home, her brother, her soul, and lost everything, including mercy. Enraged, Medea didn't just curse his name. She took the ultimate revenge. She sent the new bride a wedding gown laced with dark magic, one that burst into living fire, consuming the girl in flames. And then, in one of the most horrifying acts in all of mythology, she killed her own children, not out of madness, not because she didn't love them, but because she wanted Jason to suffer in a way no man ever had. Medea gave Jason everything and then took everything away. Medea fled, untouched by justice. Some say she became immortal. Others claim she still wanders the edges of the world, a witch of vengeance and sorrow. But one thing is certain. Medea is the sorceress mythology never forgave. Was she a villain? A victim? A warning? She's one of the most complex witches in ancient lore. Brilliant, broken, and utterly terrifying. Her magic bent reality. But her rage? It bent morality. Magic made her powerful. Love made her monstrous. Medea isn't just a witch. She's the embodiment of betrayal, rage, and revenge. Medea represents the dark side of devotion, the danger of sacrificial love turned to ash. She is the cautionary tale of what happens when a woman gives everything and is shattered in return. The gods made her powerful. Betrayal made her deadly. Medea wasn't born a villain. She was made one by love, by betrayal, and by the gods who watched and did nothing. In the mists of ancient Ireland, before battle cries pierced the air, a single crow might appear on the branch above the field, watching, waiting. If you saw her, it meant only one thing: someone is going to die. She wasn't always called a witch, but she fit the archetype. She shape-shifted, whispered prophecies, and wove the threads of fate with hands cold as the grave. She is the Morrígan, the Phantom Queen. Who was she? The Morrígan wasn't one woman, but many. She was a triple goddess, sometimes appearing as three sisters: Ba, the fury of battle; Macha, the force of sovereignty; and Nemain, the chaos of panic and madness. Together they were life, death, and the blood between. She appeared most often as a crow perched above the battlefield, or a woman washing bloody armor at the river, a sign that the warrior was doomed. When crows gather and the fog won't lift, the Morrígan is near. The battle queen's power. The Morrígan didn't fight with weapons. She manipulated fate itself. She could shapeshift into animals or beautiful women, foretell death with terrifying accuracy, curse enemies with madness, seduce or doom heroes who crossed her path. She was not evil, but she was relentless. The Morrígan doesn't fight. She watches and decides who lives. Her most chilling encounter. In the epic Tainbo Quanga, the Morrígan confronts the hero Cuchulainn. She offers him her love and protection, but he refuses. Enraged, she attacks him in 3 forms during battle: a raven, a wolf, and a heifer. He wounds her each time, unaware it is her. Later, when his time comes, he ties himself to a standing stone so he can die on his feet. The Morrígan lands on his shoulder in crow form, and only then do his enemies dare approach. She was the final witness, a prophecy fulfilled. Why she still haunts us? The Morrígan is not merely a war goddess. She is a spiritual force, one that lingers in shadow, silence, and fog. She's a warning, a prophecy, a presence that doesn't vanish after death. She embodies the truth we all fear, that fate is already decided, and that someone or something is watching. Symbolism. The Morrígan stands at the crossroads of life and death, choice and destiny. She's the darkness behind power, the shadow that follows ambition, a reminder that war has a cost and the debt is always paid in blood. She is vengeance wrapped in feathers. The Morrígan doesn't cast spells. She casts fate, and if you hear the crows circling above, you were chosen before Salem, before bubbling cauldrons, before the word witch was whispered in fear. There was Hecate, the original goddess of magic, necromancy, and shadowed paths. She doesn't just cast spells, she created them. The original dark goddess, Hecate's torch still lights the way for witches today. Who was she? Hecate was no mortal witch. She was a titaness, older than the Olympian gods, with dominion over night, spirits, and secrets. Often shown with three faces, she stood at crossroads, places where fate splinters and souls wander. Her symbols: torches, keys, daggers, dogs. Her companions: the restless dead. At every haunted road, someone still leaves a coin for Hecate. Her magic. Hecate's power was vast and terrifying. She could command ghosts, summon spirits, and guide souls into the underworld. Witches invoked her during moonlit rituals, calling on her for vengeance, prophecy, and transformation. She gifted magic to mortals and took it away when angered. Many believe she taught both Medea and Circe the forbidden arts. She didn't need to learn magic. She was magic. Worship and offerings. In ancient Greece and Rome, Hecate's worship grew in underground cults. Her followers left offerings at three-way crossroads at night: meat, honey, eggs, even black dogs. These weren't prayers for blessings. They were tributes of fear and reverence. Queen of the Veil. Hecate wasn't only the goddess of death. She was the gatekeeper, standing between worlds, lighting the way for souls in limbo. On Halloween night, it's said, the veil thins, and Hecate walks the earth, holding her torches high, not to guide the living, but to welcome the wandering dead. Witches whispered her name in secret, and they still do. Legacy and modern influence. Today, Hecate is still worshipped by pagans and Wiccans as the true goddess of witches. Her image appears in grimoires. Her name is chanted in circles of salt, and her power, unforgotten. She is the shadow in the forest, the whisper at the crossroads, the silence before a spell is cast. Before there were witches, there was Hecate. She is the torchbearer of the occult, the mother of spells, the queen of every haunted path. Hecate isn't a legend. She's the reason legends exist. These weren't fairy tale witches. They were real to ancient people, forces of nature feared and revered across centuries. Some brought healing, others brought nightmares, and a few still call to us from the shadows of myth. So this Halloween, light a candle, whisper their names, and remember the witches who walked before us. Which one gave you chills? Let me know in the comments. Want more mythological horror? Watch my deep dives on haunted legends, gods of the underworld, and ancient terrors, right here on Salazar's Timeless Treasures. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you dare.